Hello, it's Webbs once again with another Hearthstone deck. This time it's Evolve Shaman with some new dragon-shaped toys. So let's get into the games now, shall we? Alright, let's get into the first game against another Shaman. Here I'm expecting it to be some type of elemental Shaman, so we mulligan away most of our hand. Open from some early game, and we get a nice curve later. And this confirms it is an elemental Shaman. We draw into primal. That we play the custodian, get our weapon early. Play the Dungeoneer, get 2 cards. Get the Canal Slogger, which will be nice as a form of healing. And a nice big minion. Our opponent's just going to board clear, then go for face. Here we play the Slogger, heal up, back to full, rid of one of the minions. We're in a pretty good position at this point. The opponent is thinking about what they will do. They play Archdruid, which is fine. Doesn't really do much for them right now. Gonna play the Pitmaster. Then attack with this Sludge, then Revolve. We didn't really get that good of Revolve targets. I mean, they're not terrible, but they're not that great either. Irvin pops the Divine Shield. Also makes it weak enough for a weapon to kill. This card that we got out of the Revolve. They'll just board clear us. Run a coin into Sidekick. Probably the only time where Sidekick actually was useful. Also probably should have attacked with the minion before evolving them. They transform our 8/8 into a frog. Sucks for us, but not much we can do about it. Play our other Pitmaster to get 3 units on board, then play the cage match, evolve all our targets, and then play the broom in order to rush them into some of their board. Which works out pretty well for us. And we even get an extra draw card. Opponent's thinking about what to do. May kill 2 of our minions with Stormer, then kill our draw with their other minion, which is still fine. Still in this. Play the tiny toys. Back into the. We play Revolve, which gets us alright board, but it gets rid of their 5/6 and replaces it with a 1/1. Best case scenario for us. They're going to probably try to board clear, which is not too good for us, but oh well. Yeah, the dunk tank sucks. It's rid of our entire board. Here we'll use Lady Prestor to transform our entire deck into big dragons, so we have even better evolve targets for the rest of the game. Then we evolve her and get a taunt. They're going to kill her taunt and continue to buff up their own board, which is fine as long as we top deck something good here. Nixia will do it. Just evolve her with the weapon. Thinking about using our hero power, then we do. And we get to clear the board. Both probably the best and worst option that we could have got there.
I see your valor.
Nature waits for no one but me.
Here they're thinning out their deck a bunch. They don't have any more weapons. We're not in a position that we really would want to be in, but we get Tiny Toys, which is absolute best top deck that we could have got in the deck. Here we buff up our 1 minion in hand, and then turn all our 2/2s into 6-cost units. And then we use our lightning blooms in order to draw more cards. Play our 3-cost dragon. Clear out the board. And from here, we should win.
I see your valor.
And they have Alec here. And they generated Nightmare off of Archdruid way back in the game. And we just lose. Alright, after that devastating loss, let's get into game 2 against Hunter, which is probably going to be Face Hunter, all Shaman's worst matchups. Here we have a Goldshire Knoll in the opening hand. I should have kept it. Didn't really think through. This was one of the very earliest games that I played with the deck. Here's the Sidekick, which is probably going to be useless. In on the early mulligan is why I removed it from the deck. They're going to do normal Face Hunter stuff. Summon 2 minions on turn 1. Have 5 damage on turn 1. We're just going to draw our weapon. Hopefully that'll help us out. They're just going to clear out our board a bit, and then face. Here we get our flame, which is going to be nice for next turn, since it allows us to full clear the board for the most part, no matter what minion they place down. Though we're going to be useless in the next turn. Fine. Just get some board presence here so we don't get overwhelmed in the meantime. We draw into Tiny Toys, which is always good to see. Tiny Toys was probably the best new support that the deck got. It always felt great to just play it down whenever you had a way to evolve at least 2 of the targets. Just gonna kill their taunt and then go face and revolve so they don't get a bunch of hyenas, get an extra draw. draw into Lady Prestor, which is also a good card to see. They play Cobain, which is annoying, but it's fine. We get a bunch of 2/2s. We go face. And then next turn we'll evolve them all into a bunch of nice 6/6. Next turn we'll evolve them all into a bunch of 6-cost units. Not much the hunter can actually do from this position. It can kill at least one of our 2/2s, which just gets us a null, which is actually even better for us. Here they have to waste as much of their cards in order to clear out as much as the board as possible. We use the null in order to 10-cost unit and clear out the 3/5, clear out of their board, and then we attack with the weapon, get a bunch of 6-cost units, or 10/10, and then we rush into the 1/1 to heal back up by 4. In this position, we can't really lose unless they draw into a bunch of spells that do face damage. That destroys the wrong minion. It's interesting to see that they're even running Deadly Shot. And we just win. Alright, now that the games are over, let's get into the discussion. The deck actually performed pretty well. With the recent nerfs to Elemental Shaman and Face Hunter, it should actually perform even better. The games in this video were actually recorded before the nerfs were announced, and I had been hoping some of the bad matchups would get hit. Overall, I would say this is probably a decent enough deck to want to craft it. Evolve Shaman has always been a classic in Hearthstone ever since the first Evolve card. In United and Stormwind, the deck actually got a bunch of new support cards, which help the amount of targets that the deck has, such as Lady Prestor is a perfect fit for the deck as it allows you to evolve a bunch of your early game minions into big late game minions without having to run a bunch of high cost cards in today's current meta, where playing a bunch of cards that are high cost or just asking to get out damaged quickly early game. Goldshire Knoll was also another really good addition to the deck. It allows for the same things as Lady Prestor, just on a much smaller scale and much earlier if you draw into it in the original mulligan or early on in the game. If it's in your original mulligan, as I found out through play testing, most of the time you actually want to keep card in your hand, since it allows you to maybe get a 10-cost unit out on like turn 5, which can be actually pretty strong if your opponent has no way to deal with it. Tiny Toys, which is the main reason a lot of people were going to relook at this deck once the set came out, and it did not disappoint. Whenever you drew into it, it always felt nice. There was never a time where it did not feel nice. Even the 2/2s, if you got lucky enough with the 5 drops, could be useful. Sometimes you would get a lure, which allowed you to just attack into a minion and then get a 7/3. I know there's another card that a lot of people use in this deck, and a card that I used in both of the games featured in this video that I ended up cutting, which is the Selfless Sidekick. But I cut it out for Perpetual Flame and an extra Broomstick because the games were going too quickly, and I was playing this deck before the nerfs were announced and put through, so I expect this deck actually to perform even better now once this video has been released. The deck is also lacking maybe one more card to help evolve your cards into higher cost units. Right now, it feels like the deck has a lot of good targets for evolve, but it's very limited in the amount of cards that actually evolve your cards. Revolve doesn't evolve, it just makes the same cost units, which is still helpful, but the deck just feels like it needs something else. Clackers only evolves 2 adjacent minions, and then you have the weapons, which of course are probably the best way to evolve in the deck. But it just needs maybe one more minion. I don't know what the card would be without it being a total reprint. Maybe it'd be something that was a tradable with evolve as the rest of the words. All the tradable cards are basically reprints, just with tradable added on it. I don't know if that's something that they'll be looking to support in the mini set. They could not. Who knows? But on that note, I would say if you're looking for a different deck besides Elemental Shaman play, that's also still a Shaman deck. This would probably be a very safe bet to craft. And until next time, bye bye.